Crimson Tide have wrapped up yet another official visit weekend, getting multiple five-star prospects on campus. The Crimson Tide have seemed to take a step forward with a couple of those guys. I will talk about that on this episode of The Process and more. As always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. This official visit weekend, which happened in Tuscaloosa over the weekend, was a significant one because the Crimson Tide were able to get a commitment pretty much immediately right after, with the commitment coming from Sam Utu, becoming the Crimson Tide sixth commit in the 2026 recruiting class, our second offensive line pledge, a versatile offensive lineman. I broke him down in depth a little bit more on a video on our YouTube page when he announced his commitment to the Crimson Tide. In terms of Alabama's 2026 recruiting class, they would love to add some of the guys who were on campus on this weekend. One guy who they currently have a verbal commitment from is Kamaran Johnson, a 2026 four-star edge out of Muscle Shoals High School in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. This is the guy who the Crimson Tide wants to hold on to a commitment from, hopefully till he signs with the Crimson Tide during the whatever period he chooses to sign. Most guys choose to sign during an early signing period. That's kind of like where I expect Johnson and a lot of these guys most likely to sign. But before this official visit, he told me he was going into this official visit to continue to build on his relationship with Alabama, although his relationship with the Crimson Tide and the way that they've continued to consistently treat his family played a huge role in him committing to Alabama on A-Day. Alabama seemed to hammer that home during his visit. Telling me after the visit, Johnson said it is just a culture there in the way they treat my family every time I am down there, in terms of him feeling really good about his Alabama commitment after that official visit. He also headed to Tuscaloosa with his recruiting hat on, similar to Jordan Edwards and Jamarian Matthews, who are also verbally committed to Alabama at the moment. Both were in Tuscaloosa as well. Those guys had their recruiting hats on. And in terms of Kamaran Johnson, he had his eyes on one guy in particular. That is Xavier Griffin, five-star linebacker out of Gainesville High School in Georgia, one of the more versatile linebackers in this 2026 class. A guy who's from that North Alabama area, which, like I said previously, Johnson is from that Muscle Shoals area, North Alabama area as well, along with Jamarian Matthews. So the Crimson Tide, like I said before this official visit, the Crimson Tide, I'm pretty sure it was set up that way to get those guys on campus at the same time to try to use it to their advantage. But after that visit, Johnson said he walked away feeling really good about the future of the Crimson Tide's 2026 class, telling me that he feels great about the future of this class, and saying he feels that Alabama is building a class that's going to be capable of winning a national championship. In his words, we're going to win a natty. So the Crimson Tide 2026 class is building its foundation at the moment, but their commits seem to be really confident right now, specifically after that official visit where they hosted some of the top prospects in the country, including JuGyra Edwards. I want to talk about this kid for multiple reasons here. Similar to Xavier Griffin, when I talked about Kamaran Johnson, I think the Crimson Tide's commits seem to be really involved in terms of helping the Tide recruit. You saw Jordan Edwards posing with Edwards. Talked about Johnson earlier, saw him posing with Matthews and Griffin. So it looked as if they were very active in trying to show those guys that, hey, we want you in Tuscaloosa and we'd love to have you as part of this 2026 class. Edwards is a special talent. I wrote a piece about this because I feel like it's just a perfect fit. When you take a look at Edwards, I feel like he's a perfect fit for the Crimson Tide's Husky position. I know he's not currently on Alabama's football team right now. He's transferred to Notre Dame. But go back and take a look at Devontae Smith's highlights on YouTube. The defensive back transferred for Notre Dame, who played at Alabama during the 2024 football season under Kane Womack. Go back and look at his highlights and take a look at some of the plays that he made from that Husky position and the type of plays that he was able to make close to the line of scrimmage, taking on plays, great coverage in the slot, being a guy who roamed around the field really well and showed a lot as a defensive back at the Husky position, although he's a lot smaller than Edwards is even at the moment, with Edwards being a high school kid. Devontae Smith is a 6 foot defensive back. Edwards is a 6'3", 210-pound defensive back who can run a 4.40, who is comfortable lining up close to the line of scrimmage, can dissect where plays are going, diagnose them really well, and accelerate to the football with great closing speed. In my opinion, I just think he's a perfect, possibly plug-and-play guy at that position for the Crimson Tide if they were able to get a commitment from him. They have continued to trend upwards with the 5-star defensive back out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. With them getting Jordan Edwards on campus, I think that was huge because Edwards is a 5-star himself, and those guys working in the secondary possibly together in the future, and combined with the length that they have, along with the length of guys that are currently on Alabama's roster, like Mincy, like DJ Lee, the Crimson Tide could have a lot of length on their back end in the future if they can land all of these guys, and including you could also throw a guy like Jet Washington in that mix who officially visited the Crimson Tide during that first weekend in June. So the Crimson Tide were able to get some top recruits on campus on this weekend. Just going to continue to move forward with that discussion. Getting Derek Cooper on campus as well, 5-star running back out of Florida. His mom posted to X saying that they loved everything about the Alabama visit. So I just feel like the visit, at least at this point in time, seemed to have continued to keep Cooper interested in Alabama football. It's kind of like how I would describe it until I'm able to get more of a feel for him, possibly doing an interview here in the near future. But heading into this official visit, I think it was important to know that the Crimson Tide have made him a priority. Although you might not have heard a lot about Cooper, but going back to my conversation with him, which I talked about on the previous episode of The Process, at that Under Armour All-America game, with them being one of the juniors who had the privilege of playing in the Under Armour All-America game in January, he told me that Alabama was a school that he 100% knew at that particular point in time that he was going to take an official visit to. Walking into Kalen DeBoer's office, and his film is right on the screen showing Alabama, showing him that, yo, we like your skill set, and basically pointing out what parts of your game that we really like. I think he's simply one of the most explosive prospects in the country, regardless of position, when it comes to the offensive side of the football. He's a guy who can make plays in the run game and also make plays out of the backfield in terms of the passing game. He's a sub 11 100-meter dash guy. He's an elite talent who a lot of teams around the country are going to want to have in their 2026 recruiting class. But right now, I think this official visit right now at least keeps Alabama in the mix. I think how things move forward and we see how things continue to trend with Cooper, I think that's going to be really important. To me, I would have kind of been surprised if he would have came out and said, yo, Alabama is my leader after this official visit. I just didn't get that type of vibe from him. It wasn't considering all the schools that he is considering, but I do feel like the Crimson Tide took a step forward with not only him, but his family as well. Getting him on campus for this official visit was a good step forward in my mind for the Crimson Tide. He's actually going to be set to announce a commitment date soon. We'll see who starts the trend for the 5-star running back. Another 5-star who was on campus is 5-star linebacker Xavier Griffin. Talked about him earlier. The Crimson Tide, I think, in my opinion, just based on what I heard from him, I think Alabama still remains in a really, really good position with them. That lead role, just based on them showing him a lot of love. You basically saw it on Instagram if you were active on social media during the weekend. You saw a lot of members of Alabama's team, their roster, coaches, all surrounding Xavier Griffin and multiple members of the Crimson Tide's official visitor list from the weekend. But Xavier Griffin is a guy who walked away feeling really good about Alabama's brotherhood, telling me that he said the brotherhood really was the thing that really stood out to him, saying the older guys and the freshmen. Of course, we talked about this on previous episodes of The Process. The Crimson Tide's 2025 recruiting class have not played a snap at the University of Alabama in terms of the gridiron, but they are constantly recruiting on these official visits. And last weekend was no different, with Griffin saying that older guys and freshmen just took me in like I was already a part of the team. So he's a guy, I'm pretty sure that was kind of Alabama's goal, in my opinion, because this is a guy who they have been trending with. I think you wanted to try your best to make him feel like, yo, this is where you need to be, this is where you belong. And I think Alabama did a good job with that. Him set to announce a commitment on June 29th. I still feel Alabama remains in a really good position with the 5-star linebacker. So at this particular point in time, I feel pretty confident in saying the Crimson Tide made a significant push forward with those 5-star prospects. We'll continue to pump out updates. This is not the last episode of the process. From this week, we'll talk about the Crimson Tide's next official visitor group on the next episode of the process and provide even more updates from this past weekend. But I did want to come on here on today, give you guys more so of a quick update of some of the things that we've been able to gather here at Touchdown Alabama so far. But be sure to stay locked into our YouTube channel. As always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama.